Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.
Excuse me! Taxi!
Come on, what are you doing? This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Well, join us as somebody who certainly knows a lot more than I do. I'm not sure about Ed, but he certainly knows a lot more than I do. Brigadier General John Teichert, U.S. Air Force, Space Force, known as Dragon. General Teichert, you just heard the latest news. That's coming from NBC. Walk us through what you surmise right now is going on.
Rita, first of all, you're killing it. You know, I am an F-15E combat pilot, or I was, and so thoughts and prayers to the F-15E community. One of our brothers and sisters is behind enemy lines, and the good news is the U.S. Central Command and the combat search and rescue community is not going to rest until we find our brother and sister who's out there. They're highly trained. I'll tell you, I'm a fighter pilot, and the heroes of fighter pilots are the combat search and rescue personnel that go into harm's way to pick up those that are downed. That is going on right now as the priority in the area of responsibility, and I hope that they find that guy or gal quickly.
What kind of training goes in, General Teichert? Because I brought up Scott O'Grady. Remember that famous case where he went down in enemy lines? He survived 6 days. I remember Scott telling me how he lived on bugs and literally hid in the bush, dressed up in camouflage. This is a different situation. From what I hear, it's very mountainous. It's very not urban, very desolate, dry, mountainous area, which could be good in terms of not as many people. If it's urban warfare, I would think it's a lot more difficult to hide. On the other hand, it may be much more visible.
Rita, the worst 3 weeks of my life were what I call, or they call, a course of SEER: survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. It is how you survive in a situation like this. You stay away from the enemy, in a worst case, how you resist and then escape if you are captured. But that aircrew member who's on the ground has been through that course. They know how, as soon as they land, to take inventory of how they're doing, get the equipment, and get away and find a place to hide and hold up, and then start to communicate to vector in rescue forces. No doubt they jumped on their training from that SEER course. At the same time, those combat and search and rescue professionals are doing what they are poised to do in the worst situation, which is a downed aircrew member like they're operating against today. You
know, one of the things that is really it gives me a gut punch when I heard it. I was listening to the Iranian state TV woman just about an hour or so ago. They're putting a bounty because they want to get this individual, saying, Iranian citizens, if you turn in this missing person, this missing U.S. pilot, then you'll get X amount of money. Do the right thing for your country, because they want to use that person as propaganda, right?
No, you're right. And I go back to 1993 in Somalia, Mogadishu, and Black Hawk Down. They would love to have the strategic win to capture this individual or to find a body. But I will take our forces against their forces in this fight against time any day of the week.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Judge Weinberg.
General, good to talk to you again, sir. Can I ask you this question? Because I'm very troubled by this framework of it'll be over in 2 to 3 weeks. What does it mean when we say the United States has a victory? What would that look like to you?
Judge, I like event-driven endings to conflict than timeline-driven endings. And part of the victory is going to be opening up the Strait of Hormuz. Part of a victory is going to be securing in some way the residual enriched nuclear material. And I hope that to some extent we've also created the best possible conditions for regime change, but that's up to the Iranian people. But I think the president will be driven by the events on the ground and success in those areas before he calls an end to this conflict.
Because after all, Israel is still under attack from Hezbollah and from the Houthis. So are the Gulf states under an attack.
No, that's true. And I think that we have attrited significantly Iran's ability to threaten others. We've also destroyed a lot of their industrial capacity. We're going to keep doing that for the next X amount of time till we're done. But I also think we need to resolve those 3 other significant strategic issues in order to call this a success.
General Teichert, I want to get to some of the new details we're hearing again back about this missing American serviceman. We understand there were reports that it went down last night. It went down late last night here, our time, before the sun came up in Iran. And now it's going to get dark again. It's already dark again there. They're 7 hours ahead. So how does that complicate the search?
Rita, first of all, I think that's a positive sign that we still don't know what's happened to this aircrew member. Because if Iran had found a body or they had captured an aircrew member, then we would be hearing about it immediately. And so I think the aircrew member is hiding in very rugged areas of Iran, and nighttime favors us because the adversary can't see, and we turn the night into day with our systems and sensors. And I believe nighttime favors us, but I also believe to some extent time does as well. I hope that aircrew member gets rescued, but I do think that because we haven't heard negative things from Iran, that's a positive sign that they're falling back on their training, and the combat search and rescue personnel are falling back on their training as well.
I want to ask a question, and Ed has done some jumps and stuff. But I'm curious on this regard. There was a video of the ejection seat and the parachute that Iranian state TV and the American. Everyone's saying it is consistent, so it seems like that is the plane. Parts of the plane you see, so you can see that the plane crashed. You can tell also that there was the seat looks intact and the chute looks intact. So 2 things. We don't know if the person who was rescued was the one who was in that seat. But if they both ejected safely and would they land? How typically do you typically land fairly close to each other? Are they miles apart? And how do they communicate with each other, or how do they communicate right now, with, the rest of the military to say, here I am?
Rita, awesome questions. When you eject, there is a sequence that lasts about a second between the front and the back seat. And when you're going as fast as these planes are going in combat, that's a significant distance. And then you add to that, if you're high altitude, then now there's different winds that are going to track your parachute to different locations. So it's not weird that they didn't land together. There are sensors on the aircraft, the ejection seat, and alongside the pilot that will help rescue forces know where they are. Also, each of these members has encrypted communication and radios, so they can communicate to rescue forces to verify that they're okay and where they are. And all of those are being used by assets on the ground and in the air and Central Command. And I also want to point out national assets from space that are able to track where these beacons are as well.
Well, let's pray that we get good news soon. Ed?
General, in the end, they have to be picked up by helicopters. Can they operate at night, and how well can they do it in order to rescue them? Because nighttime is the best time for the person to be rescued.
Ed, absolutely. And we heard that helicopters have already come under fire and have gotten hit. And these operators in the helicopters have night vision goggles on that turns the night into day. And we would prefer, because the adversary doesn't have the advanced technology that we have, that it would be a nighttime rescue, because it likely would be a less contended rescue than if it were during the daytime.
Well, keep us posted. General, thank you very much. General John Teichert, your expertise at this time is so valued. Thank you very much. Wow.
You got it. Have a great Easter, y'all.
Let Century Management Solutions get you to your next medical appointment. They specialize in non-emergency medical transportation, connecting patients to care, safety, reliability, and on time. Their advanced technology platform seamlessly coordinates patients, healthcare providers, insurers, and transportation partners all in one powerful network. With over 200 trusted transportation providers, they deliver scalable solutions backed by real-time tracking and complete transparency. Go to SENTRYMS.com.